Discussion, Boast, and Peer Response 11, Chapter 17. This is John Stuart Mill. Now, when you read the beginning of the chapter, the first several pages, it's important to keep in mind, keeping separate the Son and the Father. Okay, it talks about them both in many ways, and on the timeline, it confuses them slightly, so be careful with that so you don't get them confused. Now, John Stuart Mill was an experiment. His father and a friend decided that they were going to do an experiment, and they were going to teach him in a certain way. And as you read that, you're going to find that it was a very limited kind of an education, very intense, where starting at a very, very young age, the child was in school like 11 hours a day with half-hour breaks for a breakfast and for a dinner. But that was about it. It appears they only ate like twice a day. It also talks about a lot about politics and a lot about philosophies, and that's easy to get confused. So do your best at trying to keep them separate. When they talk about liberalism, there are different kinds of liberalism depending on where you are and how it's discussed. And then they talk about utilitarianism. Try to understand that as best you can also, because that will help you to understand John Stuart Mill. And look at what was missing from his education, and then as an adult, what he came to appreciate more and more. And so what he grew up with influenced greatly what he believed later on in life, but what he was missing as well as what he got influenced him as well. Today we would probably call him something like a libertarian, someone who wants the government out of the way but knows we need government, but that he appeared to appreciate the competition of ideas. And so he wanted to have a free exchange of ideas. He talked about critical thinking, the critical thinking of doing analysis, separating and analyzing something, but then putting it together and synthesizing it to something else as well. And so that was very important. And so he was very instrumental in discussing that. So let's go to the prompt. What is the tyranny of the majority? And that's near the end of the chapter. You'll find it later, but having a good context from reading the rest of it, you'll find interesting, and it will help you to understand what they're really asking for about the tyranny of the majority. And so I would expect that to be a fairly short paragraph. And then it looks like I'm going to be expecting 3 other short paragraphs as well. Identify and describe at least 3 symptoms of the tyranny of the majority in contemporary U.S. life and education. Symptoms. First, is there a tyranny of the majority? Is there a certain way that the majority of people want things to be? And is there a minority of ideas, not people, not beliefs, but ideas that are being suppressed by the majority in some way? And so what would be symptoms of the tyranny of the majority in contemporary U.S. life and education? For example, give 3 examples and use those as symptoms of the tyranny of the majority that would be in play right now, where there are ideas that the majority does not allow to be expressed. If you have any questions, please give me a call.